Welcome back to Faucets of Reality. Now, I know you're probably getting tired of my voice, so this time I'm giving you a break. Today, I'm letting two AI hosts take over as they dive deep into my very first book ever, Prima Vita. I wrote this over a decade ago, and honestly, it's barely seen the light of day until now. If you're curious, you can download it for free, just for my subscribers. The link's in the description. All right, enough about me. Let's see what these AI minds have to say.
Welcome to this deep dive. And well, this time we're looking at Prima Vita.
Okay.
And let me tell you, this one is a real head scratcher.
Really?
It promises like a guide
Mhm.
to an exemplary, wholesome existence.
Okay.
I mean, who wouldn't want that, right?
Yeah.
But then it starts throwing around these concepts like reverse entropy
Uh,
and systematic sustenance of universal energy.
Hmm.
I don't know. I'm already intrigued and a little intimidated, if I'm being honest.
It definitely piques your curiosity,
It does.
doesn't it? And the book's approach is interesting. It lays out a kind of universal map to this
Okay.
ideal existence,
Mm-hmm.
a journey that unfolds in three parts: internal psychological, then material physical, and finally external psychic.
A map, huh? So we're talking about like a step-by-step
Yeah.
process.
Yeah.
But before we even get to the first step,
Okay.
there's this foundational concept we need to wrap our heads around: eternal zero.
Right.
It's like the starting point
Right.
and the finish line all rolled into one.
Exactly. Think of it like this: eternal zero is the blank canvas before the masterpiece. It's the potential energy from which everything emerges and where everything ultimately returns. The book uses the Ouroboros,
Okay.
that ancient symbol of the snake
Alright.
eating its own tail,
Uh,
to illustrate this idea.
so it's a cycle of constant renewal, kind of like the way nature works.
Yeah.
Things die, decompose, and become the building blocks for new life.
Yeah.
But how does this eternal zero translate to us, in our everyday lives?
Well, the book draws a parallel between eternal zero and our own minds. Think about how many thoughts we generate every day.
Oh, yeah.
It's like a constant stream of energy. Only a small fraction of those thoughts actually take root and manifest into something tangible. It's like the difference between a black hole, which consumes everything,
Yeah.
and a star, which radiates light and energy.
Okay, I see where you're going with this. So our minds are like these black holes, churning with thoughts, but only the truly potent ideas, the stars, have the power to break free and create something.
Yeah.
And those star ideas,
Mm-hmm.
those are what the book calls our original ideas, right?
Precisely.
That spark of purpose that drives us.
And that's where part I of the book comes in, internal psychological. This is where we explore that initial spark,
Mm.
that seed of our individual purpose.
So it's like taking inventory of our internal landscape before
Yes.
we start building anything
Exactly.
in the external world.
It's about understanding who we are at our core
Right.
before all the external influences start shaping us. The first chapter, Existence, really dives into this idea.
Okay.
It encourages us to find solitude,
Mm-hmm.
to strip away all the distractions, and just be present with ourselves.
That makes sense. It's like taking a step back from the noise of the world to reconnect with our authentic selves. Have you ever had an experience where disconnecting from everything helped you see things more clearly?
Absolutely. I think we all have those moments where stepping away
Right.
from the daily grind
Right.
allows us to reconnect
Yeah.
with what truly matters. And that clarity, that sense of self-awareness is crucial
Yeah.
for nurturing our original idea, according to the book.
But then in chapter 2, learning things get a bit more complicated. We're no longer in that pristine state of pure existence.
Right.
Now we're encountering the world, and with it, all the dualities,
Yeah.
good and bad, right and wrong. It's like our original idea is being bombarded with information
Yeah.
and trying to make sense of it all.
And this is where the challenge lies.
Mm,
We can easily get overwhelmed by this influx of knowledge,
right.
losing sight of our original idea amidst the chaos.
Well, yeah.
The book stresses the importance of filtering
Okay.
what
Yeah.
we take in, making sure it aligns with our core purpose.
That's a tough one. How do we know what to filter? I mean, isn't being open to new ideas and perspectives also important for growth? How do we strike that balance
Yeah.
between staying true to our original idea
Mm-hmm.
and being open to learning new things?
That's a great question. And the book seems to suggest that It's less about filtering out specific information
Mm-hmm.
and more about constantly checking in with ourselves,
Okay.
asking, does this new knowledge help me move closer to my goal? Or was it just a distraction?
So it's about maintaining that connection with our original idea, using it as a compass to navigate through the ever-expanding sea of knowledge. That's actually a really helpful way to think about it.
It is.
Mhm.
And once we've gathered enough knowledge, we move into chapter 3, teaching. This is where things start to take shape. The book describes it as the process of structuring knowledge,
Okay.
giving it form and purpose.
So it's like taking all those raw materials we've gathered
Yeah.
and turning them into a blueprint, a plan for bringing our original idea to life.
That's a great analogy. It's like an architect
Mhm.
designing a building.
Right.
You have all these ideas floating around,
Yeah.
but you need a structure, a plan
Right.
to make them a reality.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where the concept of time comes into play.
It's no longer just this abstract idea floating around in our heads. Now we're thinking about deadlines, timelines, and the steps we need to take to make our vision a reality. And that brings us to the end of part 1, the internal psychological stage of the journey.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm guessing this is just the beginning, right? This blueprint is just the first step towards actually manifesting our original idea in the real world.
You're absolutely right. The internal work is essential,
Mm-hmm.
but it's only half the battle.
Right.
The real challenge lies in taking that blueprint
Yeah.
and turning it into something tangible. And that's where part 2 comes in,
Okay.
the material physical stage of the journey.
Okay.
And, that leap from the internal to the material, from the blueprint to the building,
Mm-hmm.
is where a lot of us get stuck.
It's easy to dream big,
Right.
but bringing those dreams to life
Mm-hmm.
in the physical world,
Mm-hmm.
that's a whole other challenge.
It is. And I think that's what makes this book so intriguing.
Yeah.
It doesn't just stop at the think positive stage.
Mhm.
It acknowledges that there's real work involved
Right.
in manifesting our desires.
It does.
And part 2, material physical, dives right into the nitty-gritty
Exactly.
of that process.
And it starts with chapter 4, elements.
Okay.
This is where we shift gears from the conceptual to the practical.
Mm-hmm.
It's about gathering the resources, the tools, the building blocks we need to construct our vision.
So if our original idea is like the architectural plan,
Mm-hmm.
then the elements are the bricks,
Yeah.
the mortar, the lumber,
Right.
all the tangible materials we need to make that plan a reality.
That's a great way to put it.
Okay.
But it goes beyond just the physical stuff.
Okay.
Prima Vita also emphasizes the importance of mental and emotional resources.
Things like discipline,
Right.
resilience, and even a sense of humor.
Right. Because let's face it, building anything worthwhile takes a toll,
It does.
not just on our time and energy, but also on our mental and emotional well-being.
Yeah.
It's like running a marathon.
Mm-hmm.
You need to be in good shape physically and mentally
Mhm.
to make it to the finish line.
That's a perfect analogy.
Yeah.
And the book highlights that neglecting our well-being
Mhm.
is actually counterproductive to the whole process.
Wow.
Trying to build a house on a shaky foundation is just not going to hold up in the long run.
Right.
So taking care of ourselves, both physically and mentally,
Mm.
becomes an essential part of this material physical stage.
It's almost like Prima Vita is saying that self-care isn't just some trendy buzzword. It's actually a crucial ingredient for success in any endeavor.
It's about recognizing that we are the instruments through which our original idea is brought to life. And just like any instrument, we need to be properly tuned and maintained to perform at our best.
Okay, so we've gathered our elements. We're taking good care of ourselves. What's next?
Well, now that we have all the pieces in place, we move into chapter 5, independence.
Okay.
This is where the original idea takes its most potent form.
Yeah.
It's fully embodied,
Mm-hmm.
independent, ready to make its mark on the world.
It's like the moment the building is finally complete and everyone stands back in awe, admiring its grandeur. But I'm sensing there's a but coming.
Right.
It can't all be smooth sailing from here, can it?
You're right to be skeptical,
Okay.
because this chapter also highlights a potential pitfall, the risk of losing sight of the why
Okay.
behind all the hard work.
Right.
It's easy to get caught up in the excitement of creation, the thrill of seeing our vision come to life,
Yeah.
and forget the original purpose that drove us in the first place.
So it's like we become so focused on the how, the logistics, the details, the execution,
Right.
that we lose sight of the why
Yeah.
the deeper meaning, the motivation that fueled our passion in the beginning.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The book calls this sentient automation,
Oh, wow.
where we become so fixated on the mechanics of creation
Mm-hmm.
that we lose touch with the soul of our original idea.
That's fascinating and a little scary, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
I can definitely see how that could happen.
Mhm.
You get so caught up in the doing
Mhm.
that you forget the being.
Right.
So how do we avoid falling into that trap? How do we maintain that connection with our original idea throughout the process?
Well, the book emphasizes the importance of mind over matter in this stage. It's a reminder that even though we're dealing with the physical world,
Right.
the mental realm is still the driving force, our thoughts, our beliefs, our intentions. They shape the reality we create.
So it's like constantly reminding ourselves that we're not just building a house, we're building a home. It's not just about the bricks and mortar, it's
Right.
about the love, the laughter, the memories that will fill those spaces. And those things, they all originate in the mind.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
Thanks.
And that focus on the mental realm prepares us for the next stage of the journey.
Okay.
Chapter 6, institution.
Okay, so we've gone from the internal to the material. Now we're talking about institutions.
Right.
What does that even mean in this context?
Well, think about it like this.
Okay.
You've built your house. It's beautiful. It's functional. But now you need to integrate it into the neighborhood.
Okay.
You need to connect the plumbing to the city's water supply. Make sure the electrical wiring meets code. Maybe even join the homeowners association.
So institution, in this sense, refers to the larger systems and structures that our original idea needs to interact with.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's about recognizing that our creation doesn't exist in a vacuum. It needs to find its place
right.
within the existing frameworks of society, within the communities and institutions that shape our world.
Okay.
And that's where things get really interesting, because this chapter emphasizes the importance of morals and ethics
Okay.
in this integration process.
So it's not enough to just create something amazing. It also has to be something that contributes positively to the world around it.
That's exactly it.
I'm starting to see why this book calls it an exemplary, wholesome existence. It's about more than just personal achievement.
Right.
It's about aligning our actions with a greater good.
That's exactly it. It's like
Okay.
Prima Vita is saying that true success isn't just about what we gain, but also about what we give back.
Right.
And that sense of ethical responsibility is key for navigating this institution phase.
Okay.
It's about ensuring that our creation not only survives, but thrives
Right.
within the complex web of social systems and structures.
Okay, so we've covered the internal, the psychological, the material, the physical,
Right.
and now the institutions that shape our world. Where do we go from here?
Wow.
What's the final frontier in this journey of exemplary, wholesome existence?
That's where things get really interesting, even a little mystical,
Okay.
if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Part 3 of Prima Vita takes us beyond the tangible,
Okay.
beyond the structures and the systems, into the realm of the external psychic.
Okay.
It's where we explore the forces that shape our destiny, the unseen influences that guide our path.
Okay, this is where I'm going to need you to hold my hand a little bit.
Okay.
We're talking about things like fate, destiny, maybe even a little bit of magic.
You could say that the book starts this section with Chapter 7, Grace. It describes a point in the journey where we've done all we can.
Right.
We've nurtured the seed. We've built the structure.
Mm-hmm.
We've integrated it into the world. And now it's time to surrender to something bigger than ourselves.
So it's like we've launched our ship, we've set the sails, and now we're trusting the wind to carry us to our destination.
Precisely.
We're letting go of control and embracing the unknown.
And that act of surrender, according to Prima Vita, is what unlocks the potential for true abundance,
Okay.
which is the focus of Chapter 8.
Ah, abundance.
Right.
Now that's a concept I can get behind. We're talking wealth, prosperity, success beyond our wildest dreams.
Well,
right?
it's certainly part of it.
Okay.
But Prima Vita takes a broader view of abundance.
Okay.
It's not just about material wealth. It's about the limitless possibilities that open up when we align ourselves with the flow of the universe.
Wow.
It's about experiencing a sense of overflowing creativity, boundless energy, and deep fulfillment in all areas of life.
So it's like our creation, our original idea has taken on a life of its own,
Mm,
and it's generating abundance on multiple levels,
right.
material, emotional, spiritual.
Exactly. It's like a ripple effect.
Okay.
The energy we've put into nurturing our creation continues to expand outwards,
Hmm.
impacting not just our own lives, but the lives of others in ways we can't even imagine.
That's a pretty powerful image. But if we're talking about ripples, then there has to be an endpoint, right?
Mm,
What happens when those ripples reach the edge of the pond?
that's a great question, and that's where the final chapter of Prima Vita comes in.
Okay.
Chapter 9, Essence.
Okay.
Here, the book describes a return to the source,
Mhm.
emerging back into the eternal zero.
Hold on. Are we talking about death here? Is this the grand finale, the
Right.
curtain call for our original idea?
Not necessarily. Prima Vita seems to suggest that while the physical manifestation of our creation may fade,
Okay.
the core wisdom,
Mm-hmm.
the impact it had on the world,
Right.
those things remain.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a drop of water falling back into the ocean.
Okay.
It merges back into the source,
Right.
but its essence becomes part of something much larger than itself.
So it's not about clinging to our creations, but about recognizing that they're part of a larger cycle of creation and destruction,
Hmm.
of expansion and contraction,
Yeah.
and that even though our individual contributions may seem small,
Mm-hmm.
they all add to the richness and complexity of the universe.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
Yeah.
And that's the real message of Prima Vita, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not just a self-help book.
Right.
It's a philosophical treatise on the nature of existence itself.
Mm-hmm.
It's about recognizing that we're all part of something much grander than ourselves, and that our lives, our creations, our experiences, they all have meaning and purpose within that larger context.
Wow. It's a lot to unpack. But it's also incredibly inspiring.
It is.
It makes you want to go out there and create something amazing,
Mm-hmm.
knowing that even if it doesn't last forever,
Right.
its essence will continue to ripple outwards,
Mm-hmm.
contributing to the ever-evolving tapestry of the universe.
It does, doesn't it?
Right.
And I think that's the power of Prima Vita.
Mm-hmm.
It challenges us to think beyond our limited perspectives,
Right.
to see our lives as part of a grand cosmic dance,
Mm-hmm.
and to embrace the journey with a sense of wonder and purpose.
So for all of you listening out there, I encourage you to pick up a copy of Prima Vita and dive in, explore the concepts, contemplate the questions, and see how this book might inspire you to create your own exemplary, wholesome existence.
And as you embark on that journey,
Mm-hmm.
remember the wisdom of Prima Vita. Nurture your original idea,
Mm-hmm.
build it with care,
Mm-hmm.
integrate it ethically, surrender to the flow, embrace abundance, and know that your essence will forever be a part of the grand tapestry of the universe.
That's a beautiful thought to end on. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Prima Vita. Until next time, keep seeking, keep creating, and keep exploring the infinite possibilities that life has to offer.